how does somebody break free of fear and develop courage? Because, you know, we're talking about these other aspects of life. Hey, well, I was born talented and, you know, this and that. And then it's like, well, those things play into confidence and courage and everything else.
Actually, when you build your confidence on talent, you become arrogant. Confidence is actually built on discipline.
Okay. I can resonate with that.
Not on talent. And so what happens with world level athletes, you can see them. Some of them are so talented that all of their confidence is based on their talent. And so they fracture under pressure. But the greatest athletes like Novak and Rafa, like Steph Curry, like they actually put their confidence on their discipline, their hard work, and their commitment to details.
Their preparation.
And one of the things I was able to discover in my life was, because I never felt talented enough, and I think it was an incredible gift. In fact, I write in the book about the curse of talent. If you're incredibly talented when you're young, you have a tendency to have built your confidence on your talent. So when the talent is no longer enough, you actually have a crisis of identity. And talented people usually don't have to build the internal structures for success. People will build structures around you when you have talent, which is why most pro football players, 75% of them, within 5 years after their career is over, are divorced, bankrupt, dead, or drug addicted.
Yeah.
And it's because external structures were placed on their life so that people could take advantage of their talent.
Right.
When you have the gift that I had, no obvious talent at all.
I grew up with no talent. I had to figure it out.
I had a brother who was like the fastest kid in the United States in 6th grade.
Whoa.
He was he was the quarterback in high school that broke all the conference passing records. He's also a genius. And we were in the same grade because my mom thought it was easier to put us in school together. So he was 7, I was 5. And I thought we were twins, but I was the anemic, untalented twin. And so what I had no external structures for success. I had to build internal structures. When you actually build your confidence on your discipline, on your preparation, on your character, it becomes unshakable.
Right.
And because it's not based on your talent. And then when you discover you might have some talent, because I look back now on my life and I go, wow, people actually think I have talent because they've mistaken my hard work for talent.
Yeah.
They've mistaken my person. And it's funny now. I mean, I get introduced to places and people go, Erwin McManus is a savant, or he's a genius, or he's a polymath. And I'm going, I barely graduated high school. I had to beg the principal to graduate me from high school.
Yeah.
Difference was that perseverance starts looking like genius. And because when you resolve to not quit, you learn things that can only be learned in the crucible of discipline and resilience.
Yeah.
And you suddenly look like a genius because you didn't quit.
Yeah. Let me add to this and edify, because for me, obviously growing up an athlete, I was always good. I was always one of the best, if not the best, coming up. Right. So I was one of those guys who didn't have to face adversity. I mean, you're moving up, crushing it. Eventually, you reach a level in sports where you're now no longer going to get by with talent. Right. And so I think for me, that happened around college. And I was like, wow, I mean, all these guys are very talented. Right. And so I'm looking around. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna have to outwork these guys and have more discipline. And, you go get drafted. Then you get to the pros and you're like, holy crap, these guys are way more talented. Yeah. These guys run faster, throw farther, hit it further. Everything about it, natural talent wise, they're better. And you start to realize, like, man, dude, how do you beat that? Yeah. And the answer is discipline, right? Steph Curry is definitely not the most talented, right? I mean, he's undersized, he's skinny, he's not quick, yet, his shooting ability was just pure discipline and work ethic and everything else, right? And why are all these other athletic guys that can't shoot? Well, they just lack the discipline to figure out how to shoot and, handle pressure and the things we're talking about. And I've noticed that in business, because in business, there's not any special requirements to be great. Like in real estate or business, it's like, bro, all these guys are just normal people. Like they're not any, like there's no guy that's like so much bigger, faster, and stronger than everyone that he's just the guy. There's no guy that's like literally a genius. And, you know, there could be your Elon Musk who's like literally a genius, but then he's got his own problems that he's got to deal with. And so you start to say, man, why are these guys having success and others aren't? Why are all these math whizzes who, you know, are so great? Why are they normal freaking people who are unhappy and whatever else? And you're like, to me anyways, as a guy who has succeeded in lots of different industries, I've realized I'm definitely not like so gifted at social media or real estate or baseball. Like I just know the process to be successful. The process requires discipline. It requires coaching. It requires work ethic. You mix all those things together. You have the ability to adapt and pivot and execute on things that you're learning. That's what makes you successful.
I know. I love that. And, you know, even at the top level, last year I got to speak to the football team at University of North Carolina, which is where I went to school. So it was just sort of a you know,
Tar
bucket
Heel
list thing for me. And I'm a Tar Heel, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm there with Mac Brown and the team. And I was talking to one of the coaches and he said, you know, at this level, what happens is that every one of these kids, they were the most talented person in their whole high school and maybe even their whole conference.
Yep.
And so all of their lives, they've been more talented than everyone. Now they get here and everyone is as talented as them. The dividing line becomes mental fortitude, mental strength.
Yep.
And that's the thing I found in life itself is that once you're out of high school or out of college, all the external structures are gone.
Yes. You're out on your own.
Yeah.
You're grown up now.
And so I had the great advantage of doing terrible in the structures. and so once I was on my own, it didn't feel different because I had always already been on my own. But the people I saw that were incredibly successful in high school and college, they didn't do as well.
Right.
And usually it's not because of talent or intelligence or gifting. It's all about mental strength.
Yeah.
And it's about these subtle little mental constructs. You know, like in Mind Shift, like one of my favorite chapters is a chapter that it says, it's called No One Knows What They're Doing. And whenever I started a new career in my life, I thought I'm the only one who doesn't know what they're doing, you know, because that's what it feels like, you know, and I realized that most of the time within a year, I could essentially be an expert in that area.
1000%. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't take a lot to get to the top of the field.
The difference is that you will fly back by everyone who thinks they already know everything. The moment you think you know everything, you're dead. You should move on to a different career.
Do you feel, this is how I feel, is like, and I don't want it to be like arrogance or anything, but like, I just feel like in any industry I really wanted to put my mind to, I could go dominate.
Absolutely. Because it's the mental structures.
Yeah.
And I sat down with a guy who lost a couple of $1 billion and he was pretty devastated, obviously. And I said, hey, when you started from scratch, what did you have? And he goes, I had nothing.
Yeah.
So you created like a multi-billion-dollar world from nothing. He goes, yes. I said, so what are you afraid of now? Because you don't have nothing. You have all the experience of having made a few $1 billion. So you're not starting where you started. And he just stopped and he remembered who he was.
Yeah.
You know, because in a moment he just forgot who he was.
Right.
And I'm going, you have stuff in your head that you had billions, but you're worth billions.
Yeah.
There's, you know, right? You already have inside of you the mental constructs to succeed.
Yeah.
And you can take it to any area of life and succeed. And that's why you end up looking like a genius, Ryan.
Yeah. And it's a good point. I brought this up to somebody else where they're like, man, dude, like you take a lot of risk and stuff. I'm like, heck yeah, dude. I love it. And he's like, are you not afraid of like losing it all? I'm like, no, because you cannot take away the important part of what I have, which is the skills, you know, the mindset, the relationships. If you want to say social media, the audience, like you can't take that away. You could take the money away. You could take the business away. You could take the real estate away. I'll build it back up really fast, way faster than what it took to get to because like now that you know how to do it, and you'll do it way quicker. And I was like, but what I'll say is I understand why other people are more risk averse, because if you have, for instance, somebody who's like a W-2 worker, right? And they're working really hard, and they're you know, building up their stock portfolio. They're buying some properties here or there, and like, you know, they build up a little nest egg, and it took them 30 years. It's like they did it, but they didn't really learn any skills, or, you know, they just kind of did it. And it's like, yeah, if they lose it, it would take them 30 years again to do it. And so it's kind of rough.
And a part of the challenge is that we're educated from first grade through college to be great employees.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's why Aaron and I, my son, created the arena. So I thought, you know, interesting thing about entrepreneurs is they normally do not do well in formal education, but they're really high learners. But they learn like Navy SEALs, you know, in a sense, like they learn in crisis, they learn in the middle of the fight. And I thought we need to create a new world with adaptive learning where, you know, usually adults learn when they're in crisis. You know, you don't go to marriage counseling when your marriage is good. You go the moment it starts going bad. You know, and you know, and just like everyone who listens to you, the ones who aren't going through the challenge of a business crisis, they're not going to remember what you said.
Right.
But everyone who's listening to you, who's going through something that matches what you're talking about, and they're going to remember everything you said, because adults do not learn, in a sense, in advance notice. You know, adults learn in the moment they need to learn it. And that's when they become voracious. And I think that's why podcasts are doing so well. That's why shows like your show are doing so well. This is the new world of education.
Yeah.
People want to learn from people who are actually doing it, and they want to learn it in real time when they're doing it.
Yeah.